quiero estar con la onda.
You speak Spanish, widow. So do parrots.
I'm in here for backing up a carnal. I killed the Tres Puntos because he's going to take out my partner. Soy Chicano.
Chicanos killing Chicanos is what they want. Blacks and Chicanos killing each other is what they want. That's how they run this place. Chicanos killing Chicanos is what they want. Blacks and Chicanos killing each other is what they want. That's how they run this place. Once we get together, they don't run shit.
Shalom, Israel. I'm Priest and Officer Malakma. This is the ISUPK, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. This is the Tuesday night Brotherhood class. Salakia for the late start, has some technical difficulties, our oppressor being the devil that the Bible speaks of, he's going to try to find ways to keep us from, trying to put this message out. But as we say in our prayers, right, to open up the internet and the airwaves, the Lord will find a way for us to get through, man. And Most High in Christ, we were able to get this class started, Salakia, it's a little late. I know a lot of y'all got busy schedules, but y'all could bear with me for a little bit to hear what we're going to bring out, what I'm going to bring out in this class tonight. Like, you won't regret it. You know what I'm saying? Tonight's topic, right, is loving your brother as yourself is the ultimate way to fight against this oppressor. What do I mean by that, man? We know that, in these times, there's so much, hatred amongst Israelites, man. When I'm talking about Israelites, I'm talking about so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Americans. All three groups have a certain animosity towards each other, right? Even within us Mexicans, right? I'm Mexican, so I'm going to say it like this. Mexicans here in America and Mexicans in Mexico don't get along with each other, man. Mexicans that gangbang, right? Being here from Southern California to Northern California don't get along with each other. Mexicans here in LA from repping one street, one side of the of town from the other side of the town on a different street corner don't get along with each other, man. We have this animosity towards us, man, and there's been so many movements and marches, groups, whatever you name it, trying to combat the issue of gang violence, that's been plaguing our communities, man. And yet to this day, none of them has succeeded. The reason why they haven't succeeded is because nobody knows what the cause is, right? Everyone blames the gang banging, but doesn't understand that the gang banging is just a symptom, right? Everyone blames the drug use, but doesn't understand that the drug use is just a symptom, right? We do these things to each other because we are oppressed in this society, right? We live in this society of our oppressor. What do I mean by that, man? The so-called white man, Esau, as we refer to him, in the Bible, his biblical name is Esau or Edom. They are a nation that's ruling over us right now, man. That's why you ever wonder why, you look at the white neighborhoods and they're all nice, and meanwhile your ghetto or your barrio is all messed up. It's got nothing to do with you not, working hard enough, you being ignorant, you being lazy. It's got nothing to do with that, black man and brown man. The reason why it's like that is because you are oppressed. This system is against us, man. This system is meant for us to stay on the bottom and for our oppressor to live on top, man. You ever wonder why there's so much brotherhood against them so-called Edomites, man? Like they go, fight wars, go out there, I'm sure y'all seen like all those war movies. They push out this camaraderie and this ballad of being a soldier and whatnot. Of course, that you saw how they got together on January 6th and stormed the Capitol. They had that because they're not oppressed. They got a love for each other because they're not an oppressed people, man. They are the oppressor. Meanwhile, us, we don't have that camaraderie. We don't have that wanting to soldier up and fight for the brother next to us. We've been plagued with the ideas of individualism and Christianity, right, which is the main culprit behind it. I call the Christian church the ultimate, the ultimate psychological warfare tactic placed on so-called blacks and so-called Hispanics in America, man. This organization and religion, which is really, pushes white supremacy, has done so much damage to our communities, man. We are so messed up because of this Christian church, because the lies that they teach, man. And then they don't even get what it means to love your brother as yourself, right? We hear the word love and we think it's an emotion. We think it's feelings. We think it's just, talking about it, saying you love your brother. But, the Bible clarifies that love is an action, right? Love, right? What it means to love your brother is not to merely say you love him, man. It's nothing on no effeminate trip to think that it's something that's homosexual. It's to love your brother is an action, man. It's to have your brother's back, right? To simplify it. But we're gonna go into the Bible, man. We're gonna go into the Bible and bring out what it means to love your brother as yourself, right? We're gonna show you what Christ said. You know what I mean? How Christ, what Christ was pushing, right? Everybody thinks of Christ as this, before I get into thinks of Christ as this peace-loving hippie, right? That image of Cesar Borgia, that false image of Christ. You think he was a peace-loving hippie that, effeminate-looking, weirdo that would go around and wanted to preach love to everybody. But on the contrary, Christ was a hardcore, he was a hardcore brother, man. He was a black man according to the Bible. He wasn't an Edomite. He wasn't an Arab. He was a so-called black man. He died like a so-called black man. He died unarmed, man. He died like a so-called brown man. Salaki, just to think that I'm not trying to diss my raza too. He died like we died, man, die in these streets today, man, unarmed at the hands of oppressors. Christ died for his people, though. He was a revolutionary leader, man. And he was about, decolonization. That's another thing that I want to bring out tonight, man, as a message to my people, man, like to my raza, to understand that this is a brown movement. This is a movement for my raza, not just, it's for so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans. All three of us, we are the same people, man. And the proof is not in how we look, but in the oppression we face, man. All three groups are getting gunned down, unarmed at the hands of police. All three groups are facing injustices at the hands of America, man. All three groups have had another nation come from afar and oppress them, man. Rob, rape, and murder our ancestors and enslave them, man. We've been stripped of our identity. We don't know who we are, man. I'm going to speak, on my behalf. I'm being Mexican, right? We think that a lot of us think we come from Spain, man. But ask yourself this, when was the last time you went to Spain to visit your family? When's the last time you visited your great granddaddies, or your bisabuelos out there in España? I highly doubt you went to Spain to find the actual town that your grandfather came from, man. It was probably a pueblo out in Mexico and nowhere in España, man. And the Spaniards had their identity, man. They never, lost it. Us, though, being Mexican, we got to call ourselves Mexican because we don't even know what indigenous tribe we come from, man. We've been detribalized in this place, right? And that creates the animosity between, the Native Americans here in America and the Mexicans, right? That have been detribalized. They think we're not native enough, man, because we don't know what tribe we come from. They think we're not valid. Meanwhile, we look at them and we think they're nothing but no good Indios. You know what I mean? Because they're a little darker than some of us, man. We play on colorism and think that, the lighter you are, the better you are, man. That's what America has taught, man. This system of white supremacy has been put on us to hate each other, man, and to think that the lighter you are, the better you are. But, what's heavy is that it's got nothing to do with skin color. It's all spiritual, man. That's the reality of it. But, man, let's open up the class, right? Let me bring out the first scripture, man. We're going to go to the book of 1 John, chapter 4, verse 20, man. Go into some brotherhood precepts because, of course, this is a brotherhood class. Salaka, bear with me one moment as I pull the precept. Because, this is what Christ said, man. Christ's ultimate weapon that he was using for, to help his people was to push brotherhood and sisterhood, man. And this is why he says what he says, man. So this is the book of 1 John, chapter 4, verse 20. I'm going to pull it out right now, man. All right, this is the book of 1 John, chapter 4, verse 20. If a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. Right? Let me pull this out on the Bible app so I could show it right here on the screen. Right? If a man say he loved God and hateth his brother, he is a liar. And I'll tell you, I'm about to bring out why. For he that loveth not his brother who he hath seen, how can he love God who he hath not seen? So you saying you love God, and here it goes, like let me tie this into today's time. When it comes to gangbanging, you hating another black or brown man, right? Because he reps a different set. A lot of you brothers out there, man, want to be, out for the barrio, out for the hood, represent for that. And at the same time, you wearing on your neck a cross or a rosary. You got tattoos of the Virgin Mary on one arm and Aztec and Mexica, Maya indigenous characters on the other arm, man. Talking about you for your raza and whatnot, but you hate your own brother, man. And at the same time, you got the Virgin Mary and that cross on you, man. That's what it's talking about, because of Christianity, you think you love God, but at the same time, you go kill your brother on the streets, man. You'll go murder that brown or black man because he came into your territory, which is another, I hate to break it to you, but that's not your territory no more, man. The white man owns everything in this country. He easily comes in and gentrifies neighborhoods, man. He gentrifies the neighborhoods. All he's got to do to get you to lose your barrio, man, is just build some new apartment complexes and raise the rent on the people there. And then the prices go up on everything, and everybody's got to move out, man. And where are you gonna go, man? You're gonna go out there to the desert where there's nothing. You know what I mean? So that's the reality of it. You say you love God, you rocking that cross, you rocking that Virgin Mary. Talk about you're faithful one night, and you're gonna go get that strap, get in the car with the rest of your homeboys, right up the street, and go murder another black or brown man. You're gonna go rob another black or brown man. So what Christ is saying right here, right, or what this precept is saying, is if a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love God who he have not seen? And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also. So it's like this. If you're going to go rob and kill another black or brown man, you basically going to kill and rob God, man. That's basically what you're doing, man. You're going to kill and rob Christ. You're Judas, the brother that backstabbed Christ. That's who you are when you hop in that car and pack that strap and go right out for the homeboys, for the barrio, man. That's the reality of it. You hate God. And then you got the Virgin Mary, which is idolatry, and that cross, which is idolatry. Of course, y'all in the world not knowing, not in the truth, knowing that those symbols do not represent Christ, do not represent the Most High. It represents white supremacy. You think you're representing something holy, but really it's something demonic, man. And that's what has has a trance on you, that you go kill another black or brown man because of it, man. But that's what 1 John, chapter 4, verse 20 and 21 say it, that if you hate your brother, you hate God. So what's the opposite of that? If you love God, you'll love your brother, because you love the Most High. You won't go kill another black or brown man. You won't go rob your brother. You won't go sleep with his wife. You won't go do any evil or harm to him, man, because he's your brother, man. That's what it means to love thy brother as thyself. That's the reality of it, man. And the scriptures tell you what love is. Like I said, we think love is an emotion, man. We think it's something, effeminate, something, of course, I got to watch my language, because, we don't want to get this video flagged by who I'm talking about. So I'm gonna show you, you know, what love is in the Bible, right? It's none of those things. It's an action. And God tells you what it is, man. We're gonna go to the book of First John or Salakia. First John, the book of First John, chapter 5, verse 3. To show you what love is, man. Because it's like the scripture said, man, if you hate God, if you hate your brother, you hate God. And this is why. This is the book of First John, chapter 5, verse 3. Let me start at verse 2, man. Or let me start at verse 1. This is the book of John, chapter 5, verse 1. Whosoever believeth that Jesus, or Yahweh, as we call him, is the Christ, or the anointed that is born of God, and everyone that loveth him that begat, loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of God. The children of God, right? It's talking about the Israelites, us, man. When we love God and keep his commandments, key word, man, keep his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous, right? So that's what love is, man. Love is keeping the commandments. Love is thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, or thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not, commit adultery, thou shalt not have any other gods before me, right? Thou shalt not, bear false witness against thy brother. Thou shalt not, those 10 commandments that you grew up learning in that church. They tell you, they don't tell you the consequences of what happens when you don't keep them, right? They tell you that when you die, you go to hell, but nah, man, it is worse than that. The hell is here on earth. You pay in your lifetime. And if you don't pay, someone close to you pays. Your children pay, man. Your people pay if you go sin against your brother, man. Why you think that, in these streets, right? You go try and kill that homeboy, right? That's from your rival set. You miss and hit a little girl. Then, you come back, you live in your life, and then your daughter, somebody gets hit by a straight bullet. Because what goes around comes around, man. You pay what you do pay. Once you know something is wrong, man, and you do it anyways, you're held accountable for it. That's what the Christian church doesn't teach you, man. But that's what it means to love your brother, to keep the commandments. And that's why I'm saying to loving your brother as yourself is the ultimate weapon against, it's the ultimate way to fight this oppressor, man. It's the ultimate weapon against this oppressor, because if you love your brother as yourself, you'll stop selling drugs to him, man. You'll stop killing him, man. You'll stop doing the things that destroy our people. And in doing so, that will empower us even more, man. That's what the Christian church does not teach, man. That's not what nobody out there teaches. Whatever so-called woke, revolutionary, pro-raza, indigenous group out there wants to claim they're about, they can't solve the issue because they're not addressing the actual issue, man, the actual cause. The actual cause is our oppressor, man. He's the reason why, we suffer the way we suffer. Why is there so much violence amongst our people? Right? Because we don't want to, follow these commandments, man. We want to keep living how we want to live. We want to serve ourselves. Really, when you get that cross, man, you're not getting that for Christ, man. You're getting that for yourself. When you go sin against the Lord, man, it's because you're serving you, man. That's the reality of it. So I pulled out this article, man, because we're gonna bring out, what the result is of not loving your brother as yourself. And Salaki, unfortunately, because of today's time, they keep referring to us as Latinx, but I want to bring this out, man, because this is something heavy. Let's see if I can share the page. So the title of the article is "The Impact of Gun Violence on Latino communities." So-called Latino communities, man. That's how I'm gonna say it. It starts with an introduction, and this is from Everytown. The website's called everytownresearch.org, just for copyright issues. Lisa Espinosa's 26-year-old son, Raymond R.J. Pantoja, was shot and killed April 10th, 2016. senseless act of violence. It's a lock you. There we go. Okay, calm. There's an article. And a senseless act of violence outside a club in Philadelphia, man. And you probably can only imagine what happens when you get acts of violence out there in nightclubs and whatnot, man. Usually it's because it's over a female, man. Usually it's because you out there talking to another man's woman. And what the scriptures say, thou shalt not commit adultery, right? What is love? Keeping the commandments. What is it to love thy brother as thyself? Is to keep the commandments towards your brother, man. So no, if you were to keep those commandments, man, you wouldn't be in a situation where your life's in danger, right? Because you would know that brother, that woman over there is that brother's rib, man, and you wouldn't go talk to her. That's his hyena, man. You wouldn't go talk to another brother's hyena and whatnot. You know what I mean? That's the cause of a lot of violence in our communities, man. A lot of gang wars have started because of over women. Wars in history have started over women, man. But here it goes, man. He tried to stop an altercation outside a nightclub in Philadelphia. So chances are that altercation was probably over a woman, right? He died a hero in honor of her son's life, and particularly his love of music. Lisa founded Raise Rhythm for Justice Foundation, which provides performing arts scholarships for children who are affected by violence. Latino people, so-called Latino people in the United States are dying from gun violence every day, and at rates disproportionate to their white peers. Increasingly, they are the target of hate-motivated violence, including in August 2019, when a devastating mass shooting in El Paso, Texas, laid bare the deadly consequence of hate and rhetoric against the Latino community. And get that nonsense out of here. Each year, 38,000 Latino people die from gun violence in the United States. An average 10 deaths every day. So 10 brothers and sisters are dying in the streets every day because of the violence, man. Because we don't love each other as ourselves, man. Because we don't love our brother and sister as ourselves. 10 brothers and sisters got to die in these streets. Nearly an average of 10 deaths every day, and 13,300 are shot and wounded. Man, every night, man, for those of y'all that live in, in the ghettos and the valleys, you hear it every night, man. You hear them shots. And you know that over there in that area where you heard them shots, chances are it was a black or brown man that got murdered. Nearly 2/3 of all the gun thefts among Latino people in the United States are homicides, as I said, a murder. And Latino people are twice as likely to die by gun homicide and 4 times likely to be wounded by an assault with a gun as white people. Like I said, the so-called oppressor, the so-called white man, right? He's not oppressed, man. He doesn't have a need to go, and murder his own people. And you want to know why? Because they recognize who their enemy is, man. They know that we're their enemy. They're in the war. They stormed that Capitol because they really, don't want us to get in power. They don't want so-called black and so-called Hispanic people to get in power. That's what it really was about, man. That's how much this oppressor loves his race and loves his nation versus us, man. We so busy trying to love our oppressor. We're so busy trying to, gain his respect. We try to be peaceful. We try to work hard. We try to make a name for ourselves. We go fight. We join their military, join their police force. We do everything we can think of to try and gain their love, man. And it hasn't worked. For the past 400 and something years, man, it hasn't worked. Nothing has changed. You want to know why? Because he will never change, man. You can't change what the Lord has made crooked, man. He is our enemy, and we have to recognize that. And the way you can recognize that is by loving your brother as yourself. As I said, man, that's the ultimate way to fight against this oppressor. Love your brother, man. It's simple as that. Don't kill that brother. Don't murder that. Don't have an issue with, if you have an issue with that brother, man, Christ told you how to solve that issue, man. He told you what to do. Pull that brother to the side. But to go kill and murder another black or brown man because of some disagreement, because he was talking to your woman, because you think he stole from you, man. Like, you're so quick to forgive the so-called white man. Everything, these devils have done to us, y'all forgive them, no problem. But when it's your own, you can't forgive them. They have to pay the price, man. And that's how you know you hate God. Because if you love the so-called white man, you hate God. That's the reality of it. Because if you love the so-called white man, you hate your brother. And if you hate your brother, you hate God. Right? That's what it truly is, man. In cities, the majority of gun homicides affect young Black and Latino men in historically underfunded neighborhoods. During the COVID pandemic, when gun violence surged in 2020, Latino communities experienced an even greater burden. An analysis of 9 U.S. cities found that more than 85% of the increase in gun violence in those cities occurred in predominantly Black and Hispanic neighborhoods. Right? So that's what it is, man. We want to, we're killing each other at a high rate, man. And that's in the Bible. The Lord warned us what would happen, man. That's why Christ came back. This was happening during Christ's time. That's why he was telling brothers, to keep those commandments, right? The law was never done away with. That's another issue, man, because you think the law was done away with and that you think you can go, as long as you ask Christ for forgiveness, you'll be, it'll be all good. That's why you go and do that too, man. That's why you go murder your brother, man. You go try to get as a woman because you think, oh, I can go do this, man, as long as I just pray to Jesus, in the name of Jesus. I just pray to him and ask him to forgive me. Everything will be all good. He died for my right to do so. But that's a lie, man. That's not what happened, man. And I'm gonna pull out the precept to show you. Bear for me 1 second, man. We're gonna go to the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 26, right? To show you that to cut that lie. Because this ties in with the brotherhood, man. This ties in with keeping the commandments. You don't keep the commandments because you think it's okay to sin, man. You think it's okay to sin as long as you pray to Christ because you think Christ died for your Christ's sacrifice was a green light for you to live how you want to live, man, and for you to do what you want to do. Well, here it goes, man. We're gonna bring it out, man, in the book of Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 10. What's the lock here? It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 26, right? Right there, you'll find how Christ's sacrifice is not a green light to sin, and that you can't repeatedly sin and go against, the not keep the commandments over and over again and think that just as long as you ask for forgiveness, everything's gonna be all good. That's not what's gonna happen. This is what the scripture says. The book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 26. For if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice. Right? What sacrifice is it talking about? It's talking about Christ, right? Christ dying on that stinking cross for us, man. That's what it's talking about. There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, meaning you are no longer protected by the blood of Christ. The Lord winks at your ignorance, but now that you know something is wrong and you do it anyways, now you're going to be held accountable. That's why, you get killed. You went and killed a Black and brown man. Now they come back and murder you. Now they come get your family. Now your family members get hit with COVID. Something happens because what you did is come back. And that's the thing, man. A lot of times, yeah, you're going to be held accountable, but it's not you that pays. It's your loved ones, the people close to you, right? The Lord's going to get you where it hurts, man. That's the reality of it. That's why you should, once you know something is wrong and something's bad, you shouldn't do it, man. It's bad to talk to that brother's wife, right? You see her at the club, y'all out, and you just because you think she's an attractive woman, you're going to go talk to her while her man is away. Or you find out, you know the protocol, the UPK, right, is to tell, when you see a sister right out there in the world, right, you ask her if she has a man, and she says yes, you stop. Well, if she says she has a man, right, and you talk to her anyways, and you still try to get at her, now you're committing adultery. And then, if you go lay up with her, you committed adultery, and the penalty for that is death, right? And what do you think happens, 9 times out of 10? Her man comes home, and sees you, and now murders you, and you done, been put to death because you went and committed adultery. You showed that you hated God, and God wasn't right there to protect you, man. God turned his back on you because you turned your back on him, right? That's what it is, man. Keeping the commandment, like I said, to love your brother as yourself, right? Which is the ultimate way to fight this oppressor, is to keep those commandments, right? And one of those commandments is, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not covet thy brother's wife, right? And when you don't keep those commandments, you're sinning, right? We'll bring out what sin is in the Bible, right? Because we brought out, that if you sin willfully, you're no longer covered, by you're no longer protected by Christ's sacrifice, right? Love is keeping the commandments. But what is sin, right? We're gonna bring it out in the book of 1 John. I believe it's 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. We're gonna go to 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. This is the book of 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is transgression of the law. Basically, right? And what is the law? The law, statutes, and commandments, right? That's what it is, man. Let me pull up the precept, man. It's a lock here. So that's how we'll do it, from now on. We're going to put this precept on there for y'all to see, right? Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is transgression of the law, right? If you know that, then that's another thing, right? Why does the Christian church teach that the law has been done away with? We know how evil that is, man. Because you think the law is done away with is why you go and transgress the law, man. Which is, and that's why you sin. Because you go sleep with that brother's wife because you think the law's been done away with, man. You go and get at that female at the club because you think the law's done away with, when in reality, it's never been done away with. Christ said, right, that he never came to do away with the law. He didn't come to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. So he never did away with the law. So you're breaking the law when you go talk to that sister at the club, right, and try to get at her, knowing she has a man. You then committed this right here. You transgressed against the law, and you're no longer protected by Christ's sacrifice. Right in the book of Hebrews. For we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge that remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. Right? So you're no longer protected by the Most High. And that's why you got situations like that story. Right? So that's the reality of it, man. You should stop sinning against your brother. Learn these laws, statutes, and commandments and keep them, man. That's what you should do. And in doing so, man, that's how you fight against. I mean, here's the thing, man. Everybody wants to talk about revolution. Everyone wants to talk about fighting against, the oppressor. But that's the thing, man. Like if you're not on one accord, how are you gonna do that, man? If you're sleeping with your brother's wife, how you gonna be unified with that brother, man? If you speaking lies and gossiping on that brother, how you think you're gonna be on together fighting in the same forefront, man, against your oppressor? You know what I mean? So that makes, that's why it's important to keep these laws, statutes, and commands. You got to build that brotherhood, man. Without that brotherhood, you don't have an army, man. And that's what Christ was trying to bring out, man. That's what Christ was trying to say. Right. And he said, let's pull out, 1 John 4 and let's go back to 1 John 4 and 20. Right. That's his thing. Like that he who loveth God loveth his brother also, man. So if like I said, if you say you love God, you got to love your brother, man. If you say you love God, you got to love your brother also, man. That's the reality of it, man. So think about it like this. The Christian church tries to say that, tries to make you passive, tries to make you, weak and want to love everybody. But who would have thought, man, that this Bible is really about fighting against your oppressor, man? Who would have thought this Bible right here, man, this book right here that sits in your grandmother's living room, right, is about fighting against your oppressor? It has the answers in here. Everything is in this book right here, man. Your whole life, you never knew that, man, because of that Christian church. You think it was just, something magical about that Bible. You thought as long as you had the Bible in there, you were going to be protected from demons and spirits and all those things, man. But the reality is, man, that's nothing, man. There's nothing magical about the Bible, man. It's down to earth, man. Nothing mystical about it. It's our constitution. It's our law book. It's our history book. That's what the Bible is, man. It gives us our code and conduct and how to conduct ourselves with each other, man. And when we follow it, we're showing that we love God, man. That's what it really is. So that's what I brought that out, right? Love is keeping the commandments, right? We know that love is keeping the commandments, and this is another account of what Christ said in the book of Matthew, chapter 22. Let's go to Matthew, chapter 22. Let's start at 36. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 36. Well, let's start at verse 33. So let's start at 34. But when the Pharisees, right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 34. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, right, he done cut them in a battle, they were gathered together. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him, saying, Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and prophets. Right? And that's another thing. Here's another lie from the Christian church. Right? The Christian church tells you that your neighbor can be anybody of any nation, right? You think that to love your neighbor as yourself means, you could love that so-called white man, that so-called Asian man, basically anybody that's not so-called Black or Hispanic, right? You can go get that white woman, that Asian woman, and forget about your sister. But nah, man, that's not, when it's talking about your own neighbor, it's talking about another Israelite, right? There's a reason why that Christian pastor never teaches you, what the book of Leviticus says, right? In the book of Leviticus, we're going to show you the context of it, right? What it's talking about when it says neighbor. It's not talking about another Israelite, man. We're going to go to Leviticus chapter 19. Chapter 19, verse 17. The book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. So you're getting the context of what neighbor is, right? Neighbor is your brother, man, which is another Israelite. And we'll go to the next verse, right? Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. So you know what I mean? For anybody trying to find loopholes in the scriptures, right here, it's telling you that your neighbor is your brother. It's the children of your people, right? You shouldn't bear a grudge against the children of thy people, your people. It doesn't say everybody. It doesn't say the whole world, right? It's saying your people, of thy people, man. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There we go again, right? Love thy neighbor as thyself, which is keeping those commandments, right? That's what love is, right? That's the love of God, to keep those laws, statutes, and commandments. It's not to, it's not just saying you love that brother, man. It's more than that, man. It's more than, that's the thing with the Lord, right? The Lord is basically, don't talk about it, be about it, right? He's basically, talk is cheap. He wants actions. He respects actions, not words, man. That's the thing about the Most High, right? He is a man of war. He is a masculine energy, man. He's a masculine spirit, man. That's who the Most High is, man. And us black and brown, man, that's how, we got to embrace our masculinity and not be feminine, man. To go kill your brother, over a different block is to be feminine, man. It's a sin, right? Here's the thing, right? Not only is it a sin to murder another so-called black or brown man, but it's also not our culture, man. You ever ask yourself where the culture of doing drive-bys and gangbanging comes from? It's not black or brown, man. That's the oppressor's culture. Why you think a lot of gang members have, their nickname? The clue that it's not our culture is in the nicknames that a lot of, gang members carry, right? Why do many gang members go by the nickname of Capone, go by the nickname of Bugsy, go by the nickname of, Lucky, call themselves Lucci or Luciano? Why they call themselves Mafia, right? Well, you got the Mexican Mafia, you got the Mafia Crips, you got Junior, so many hoods call themselves Mafias, right? Where do you think they got that from? We about to, find out. Here's another article I'm gonna pull up. Now, this is a long article, right? This is from nationalgangcenter.gov. Introduction. The first active gangs in Western civilization were reported. Let me see if I can enlarge this. Salakia. History, okay, it's titled this History of Street Gangs in the United States. The first active gangs in Western civilization were reported by Pike, 1873, pages 276 to 277, a widely respected chronicler of British crime. He documents the existence of gangs of highway robbers in England during the 17th century. He speculates that similar gangs might well have existed in our mother country much earlier, perhaps as early as the 14th or even the 12th century. But it does not appear that these gangs had the features of modern-day serious street gangs. More structured gangs did not appear until the early 1600s when London was terrorized by a series of organized gangs called themselves Hectors, Bugles, Dead Boys. There's a lot of hoods right and out here, man. They like to call themselves Dead Boys, Death Crowd, something to do with death. They always have that, man. You know what I mean? Who found amusement in breaking windows and demolishing taverns. And they also fought pitched battles among themselves, dressed with colored ribbons. Look at this, dressed with colored ribbons, man. And you wonder where that rocking that red or blue bandana comes from. With colored ribbons to distinguish the different factions. The history of street gangs in the United States begins with their emergence on the East Coast around 1783. As the American Revolution ended, Santi 1991, but there is considerable justification for questioning the seriousness of these early gangs. The best available evidence suggests that the more serious street gangs likely did not emerge until the early part of the 19th century. Right, and there's another part. There it goes. This is the part I wanted to find right here. First period of gang emergence in New York City. I mean, I'm sure a lot of y'all have seen the movie Gangs of New York. That shows you where street gangs started. Who were the original gang members? It wasn't us, man. It wasn't so-called blacks and so-called Hispanics. It was the so-called white man, right? The members of the gangs that first drove social stakes in the streets of New York in the late 18th century were the same age as most members of current street gangs. From the early to about the mid-20s, they consisted of 5 main groups. The Smiths, the Bowery Boys, the Broadway Boys were white, mainly Irish groups. The Fly Boys and the Longbridge Boys were black. Okay, so you have some Judites, but they're copying these other groups, man. There already was a substantial population in the area because they were linking up with the Irish in the movie Gangs of New York, right? You seen them linking up at first, but then the Irish turned on the Judites, right, and started murdering them because of the what was it called, the draft riots. It is important to examine more closely that the racial and ethnic character of early New York gangs described here. Overall, the earliest gangs were largely Irish, followed after the Civil War by Italian and then Jewish gangs. I got to stop right there, man. Isn't that something, man? Like, our poverty is blamed, right, because of the gang members, because we're criminals, because of this and that. Here's the Jewish man, the so-called Jewish man. He was gang banging back then, man. He was doing crime back then. If that's true, right, that the reason why we're in poverty and we're so messed up is because of this gang banging, why is it that the Jewish man is living good today? He owns half of Hollywood. I mean, he owns Hollywood. I shouldn't say half of Hollywood. He owns Hollywood, man. He owns the Diamond District. He's got so much power, and yet here we're showing in history that he was the original gang member, right? Then Jewish gangs of Italian, Irish, and Scandinavian. These are all Edomites, man. These are all oppressors that were doing this. Dutch, Welsh, Scots, Irish Catholic. There goes the religion, right? It's funny because a lot of cholos today, right? What's their religion? They follow Catholicism, right? They got that cross, that those praying hands, the Virgin Mary, right? You go to a barrio, right? And you see a mural hit up on the side of a liquor store. They put their gang name, and in the middle of the gang name is the Virgin Mary. They'll go cross out the gang, but they won't cross out the Virgin Mary, man. That should let you know something, man, of what a deep reach this oppressor has on us. It is important to examine more closely, right, the racial ethnic character of the early New York gangs described here overall. The earliest gangs were largely Irish, followed after the Civil War by Italian then Jewish gangs with a mixture of Italian, Irish, and Scandinavian members. Dutch, Welsh, Scots, Irish Catholic, and German youth, as well as persons of mixed ethnicity, soon would expand the melting pot. Indeed, early gangs were often multi-ethnic, drawn from neighborhoods that were not rigidly segregated by ethnicity. So think about that. We started gangbanging because we wanted to live we lived amongst these Edomites, man. We followed them, right? And we copied their customs and their ways. And what did the Lord say about that, man? The Lord told us that we were not supposed to do that. I'm going to show you in the scriptures, right? So lock it, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to pull the next precept out, which is Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 31. What's the Bible tell us right here? This is what the Bible says. Envy thou not the oppressor. Choose none of his ways. Let's pull the precept out. Let me show it on the screen. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. What do we do when we're out there gangbanging? We're envying. We're out there copying the ways of the oppressor, right? And what the scripture say, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. Trying to be like the mafia, trying to have trying to be the Mexican mafia. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. Nicknaming yourself Capone, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways, man. Wanting to rock a blue or red rag to distinguish your gang, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. You want to go do a drive-by and go rob another black or brown man? Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways, man. You think you're doing something that's pro-black and pro-raza when you gangbang. And the reality is that you're really doing something that's pro-white. That's white supremacy. Gangbanging is a tool of white supremacy, man. That's what it really is. And they implemented that on us so that we continue to kill each other. The Lord said what will happen, right? And we chose to not, follow those laws, statutes, and commandments. Because us killing each other, that gangbanging, that style of gangbanging is a curse, man. It's a curse on our people, man. And I'm going to go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. That's my favorite chapter, man, in the Bible, the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, man. Because right there, it gives the clue on why this has happened. You want the answers as to why, things are the way they are, man? Go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. So we'll go there right quick. Here we go. And it's... Before I bring that out, I'm going to go back to the story, right? Actually, I'm gonna pull another article. See if I can get this one to go. This is from Fox 11 News, right out here in LA, man. And this is what it says. Everything from follow home robberies to assault to murder, it's worrisome as people are still reeling from the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown finally venture out again. It's also the holiday season, so there are parties to attend and shopping to be done, man. There's another article that I want to pull out to show how the death rates during this time is so high and why it is, man, and how that coincides with brotherhood, right? There are parties to attend and shopping to be done. Only now families are facing a growing danger, crime in the streets. Could it be that this spike is the new normal? I spoke to Dr. Elliot Curry, professor of criminology, law, and society at the University of California, UC Irvine. Curry is don't matter who he is, man. He acclaimed works focused on crime and criminal justice. His book, Crime and Punishment in America, was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize. But here it is. We met at the university in the most tranquil of settings talking about spiking murder rates in California, Curry said. Communities of color have been hit the hardest. The places it's happening the most and people affected are the same places and people pretty much hurt by the violence, he explained. And what did I bring out earlier in that other article? That blacks and Hispanics overall are 10 times, what is it? Like 10 deaths a day for so-called Hispanics. I'm pretty sure it's the same for so-called blacks, right? That they're twice as likely to die in the other article. And this is what this one says. Courier said he believed the biggest catalyst for the current crime wave was driven by people being out of work during the pandemic. He was hopeful as more and more people went back to work, the murder rate would drop. Whether it continues depends on when we get jobs back, he said. And that's another thing, man. The men above me have brought this out, man. The Irish, you want to know why the Irish, the Italians, and the Jewish folks stopped doing all this crime? That's because America gave them jobs, right? They made the Irishmen in charge of the fire department and police, right? The Italians, I don't know what they gave the Italians. I think the same thing, right? And then the Jewish man, they gave him the entertainment industry. They got all these jobs to go make money and produce, build themselves up. What have they given so-called blacks and Hispanics? They haven't given us anything, man, but this culture of gangbanging, right? And then this guy doesn't know why it's happening. I can tell you why it's happening. The Bible tells you why it's happening, man. This is in the book of Deuteronomy, right? The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth, man. Does that sound like God loves everybody? Does that sound like Christ came for everybody, man? That was the original plan that the Most High had for us, man. You were supposed to be above all the nations of the earth, right? Now we're going to go to verse, 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee, right? So now we know, right, that if we don't keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, basically meaning if we hate our brother, right, and we don't love our brother like ourselves, all these curses are going to come upon us, right? And what are those curses, right? You got to stop and think for a minute. What are those curses that the Most High is talking about? Well, here's a clue. Murder rates, right? As the article says, murder rates have surged. Are they here to stay? What's the article talk about? The impact of gun violence on Latino communities. Right? What is it? They're 2/3 of the gun deaths are Latinos, and they're twice as likely to die by gun homicide and 4 times likely to be wounded by an assault. Well, that's an attack from an Edomite, but from our own murder from our own, we're twice as likely to die, man. And why is that? Well, here's a clue, man. Here's a hint. Let's go to verse 54 in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Why are those murder rates so high? Because it's a curse from the Lord, man. Why are we dying in the streets? Because we're cursed. Because we don't follow those laws, statutes, and commandments. That's why. We suffer the way we suffer because we don't follow those laws, statutes, and commandments, right? And now, like this past what is it? That's Friday or Saturday when they had Christmas. You can only imagine the murder rates were so high because of that day, as the article brought out. Cats were out there robbing each other because they wanted to get those presents for their kids, right? To go on and impress their baby's mother, the rib, whatever, that don't respect them because that's thanks to the Christian church, it basically taught black and brown women to look down on black and brown men. And that's another lesson, black and brown man. You got to learn how to pick a black and brown woman too, man. The scriptures say that an evil woman is given as a portion to a wicked man. So if you got a monster at home, it's because, man, you wicked yourself, man. If you got a monster out there that's cheating on you, that's sleeping around with everybody behind your back, that's because you're wicked, man, and you're doing something wrong too, man. But not to sidebar too much, let's go into this one, So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, man, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave, right? So we hate each other because of the curses, man, because we don't want to follow those laws, statutes, and commandments, which teach us to love each other, man. And that is love, man. That's the ultimate way to fight this oppression. Think about it like this. If so-called blacks and Hispanics were keeping that commandment, right, of loving thy brother as thyself, and knowing that if you hate your brother, you hate God, the murder rates wouldn't be so high in the ghettos and the barrios. The murder rates would go down, man. There'd be no murders because nobody wants to hate God. No black or brown man wants to hate God. Officer Kazakiat always brings this out, man. It's in our blood to want to serve the Most High. Our issue is that we think we're serving the Lord and we're actually serving the so-called white man. We're doing it the wrong way, man. But here in the ISUPK, we're going to show you how to do it right, man. We're going to show you how to actually serve the Lord, man. We're showing you what happens, I'm showing you a connection that these curses are affecting our people, man. That's one right now, man. So-called Hispanic man and woman, man, are twice as likely to die from gun violence. You know what I mean? And why is that? Because we don't serve the Lord, man. We haven't turned back to the Lord. And don't even get me started on what the other nations do to us. The article said that, we're 4 times likely to be wounded by an assault with a gun from an Edomite. Then you're wondering why we're dying at the hands of the police. What happened to that little girl, man, and the other day, man? She got killed by police, man. Man, that breaks my heart, man. What's her name? Killed in the dressing room. She was killed in the dressing room. Her name was Valentina Orellana Peralta, man. They were shopping, right? Of course, probably she was shopping for a dress, right? For a quinceañera. And the police, were chasing another brother down, man, another so-called Hispanic man. And killed them both. Man. That shows you, like that how, that we're under the curses, man. We don't have the Lord's protection because we done stopped serving the Lord, man. How many more Valentina Orellanas Peraltas are we gonna have to suffer, man? How many more John Hernandez's are we gonna have to suffer, man? How many more? What was that one brother's? That's Vanessa Guillen, Adam, the brother killed in Chicago. How many more are we gonna have to suffer, man, before we wake up, man? Before we wake up and realize that the way to fight that, right? The way to stop police shootings of unarmed black and brown men is to love thy brother as thyself, man. It's not to go march and go say out there, no justice, no peace. How many years we've been marching out there, man? How many years have we been demanding justice from the police department and nothing's happened, man? Nothing has changed. Now the police are acting like they're offended, and now they're saying that they're gonna hold back on their policing so that more crime can happen and more people can die, so that we beg them to come back, man. I say to hell with the police department, man. In that sense, come to the ISUPK, man. That's what you should do, man. When all that chaos is going around, man, come to the ISUPK, man, and we'll teach you how to survive this, man. We'll get you right. We'll teach you how to keep trucha, man. You know what I mean? Because times are going to get crazier out there. That's the reality of it. And it has to happen, man. It has to get worse before it gets better. Because the worse it gets, the more my people wake up, man. That's why a lot of our people are waking up to the reality of what's really going on. Donald Trump was a reality check for a lot of us, man. Donald Trump was a reality check for so-called Hispanics. And Joe Biden should be too. But then Joe Biden came in, right? And he put our people back to sleep. Now you think everything's all good because he's in power, man. And it's just showing you, man, that it's getting worse. But man, the murder rates have surged. And are they here to stay? They're here to stay, man. It's gonna get worse. See, this is how you saw it. See, this is going back to what I was saying. Go to the book of Matthew. How come none of y'all want to apply this? You'll apply this to the so-called white man, right? But this is brotherhood right here, man. You have heard, right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. There's a context to enemy. Just so y'all know, this is not talking about the so-called white man. Because that's the thing, right? Y'all want to use this precept to say that it's okay to hate your brother and love your oppressor. That's what y'all use. You Christians love to use, man. You have heard that it have been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. Verse 44, but I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, right? You think that means the so-called white man. Here's a newsflash, so-called black and Hispanic man. It's not talking about the so-called white man. It's talking about another so-called black and Hispanic man. And where's the proof, man? When you go a few verses up, I believe so is where it says it. Salakia. Bear with me 1 second, Israel. Right here, verse 20, verse 25. Agree with thine adversary quickly whilst thou art in the way with him, lest any time thy adversary deliver thee to judge, and to judge the liberty to the officer that thou cast in Salakia. That might not be it. It's talking about your enemy. Is talking about your brother, man. It's not talking about another about the so-called white man. It's not talking about, that's why the context is in the word neighbor. Neighbor is talking about another Israelite. Back to Leviticus. No sweat. So we broke down the history of street gangs, where it comes from, right? The scriptures say, envy down not the oppressor, choose none of his ways. And what do you think is gonna happen, man? Now that we got New Year's coming, right? This so-called New Year's, which is not our culture, right? That's the ways of the oppressor. We're gonna follow that. What do you think is gonna happen then, man? What do you think is gonna happen with the murder rates? They're gonna go up, man. And let me see if I got the article to pull that up. The article is titled, "It's the most dangerous time of the year. Why do crimes increase around the holidays?" It's that time of the year again. A time for holiday cheer and carols and gifts and crime. Yup. Just as we can expect radio stations to start blasting Mariah Carey's Christmas songs from 1994, we can also expect crimes to rise. This troubling fact is detailed in Oxygen's upcoming third season of Homicide for the Holidays, premiering Sunday, December. Dr. Janet Lauritsen, a professor of criminology and criminal justice at the University of Missouri in St. Louis, told Vice that two types of crimes go up around the holidays: robbery and personal larceny, according to the Washington Post article. Retail crime increases by 30%. That's why you've seen all those videos of people walking in the stores and breaking, just basically taking everything they want and walking back out. And what the scriptures say, thou shalt not steal. The founding editor of the Psychological Association journal, Psychology of Violence, told Oxygen that there are several factors that may explain why this may occur. Crime spike on days off, so all year round, crime rates are much higher on Friday and Saturday and is higher at night than in the morning, Hamby explains. So any increase during the holidays might be simply due to more idle time and more drinking and other drug use. Good night, man. That's what these holidays are really for, man. They're really excuses for you to serve yourself. Right? Why? Well, let's go to the book of Amos. Why do you think God, feels this way, man? This is the book of Amos, chapter 5, verse 21. I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies, man. The Lord hates Christmas and hates, New Year's, man, because they're not all, look at what goes, and he has, man, like, here's a quick look at what goes on in these days, man. As she said, crime spike on days off. So all year round, crime rates are much higher on Friday and Saturday, and it's higher at night than in the morning, Hamby explained. So any increase during the holidays might simply be due to more idle time and more drinking and other drug use. People get together during Christmas and New Year's, right? And get high, get drunk. They got free time, apparently. So they use that time to go do mischief, go do crimes. What were those Italians and Jewish man and Irishmen doing, like during these times? They were getting drunk, getting high, and going and robbing. That's what they were doing, man. They were going and murdering. And what do? We copy them, man. How many people you think are gonna die on January, December 31st to January 1st, man? Criminals tend to strike more during holiday seasons because they know there are many people out holiday shopping, he said. There are more victims out there. The cars there are, the easier it is for those guys to blend in. And what did God say? He said, I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them, neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. Right? What is New Year's about to be, man? New Year's is about to be, is about celebrating, the Roman god Janus. Right? That's what it is. It's got nothing to do with actually celebrating New Year's, right? And then we know Christmas is really the celebration of Nimrod, which is idolatry. What is, and what is to love, to love God is to keep those commandments. And what are the commandments? Thou shalt not have any other gods before me, right? Let's go to it. The book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 3, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Think about it. When you're out there doing crime, who are you serving, man? You're serving yourself. When you celebrate these holidays, who are you serving? Yourself. And you're in serving yourself, you're serving these other gods because you use these other gods to represent, your lusts and your desires and your wants. That's what it really is, man. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. And what is love? Love is keeping those commandments. So you're breaking, when you're out there celebrating those days and doing all those things, you're breaking the commandments. And you're showing that you hate God. And when you show you hate your brother, you hate God too, man. That's what the reality of it is, man. And that's why so much bad stuff is going to happen on, this New Year's Eve going into New Year's, because you're doing everything against the Lord. And the Lord is not with that, man. What do we got going on right now? Omicron, right? The Omicron variant is spreading, at twice the what is it? 3 times the normal rate of the Delta variant, right? You are about to see things get much crazier with the COVID, with the coronavirus, because of Christmas and because of New Year's Eve, man. Everyone got together, went against the Lord, and now they're gonna be held accountable. Now you're gonna see a lot of people unfortunately die, man, and it breaks my heart, man. I wish my people would wake up, man, so that way we don't have to suffer this, man. Let them other nations do their thing, man. Let them suffer, man. It's God's justice on them, but let us separate, man. The scriptures say this, man. And I'll bring that out. Deuteronomy 7:6. This is who we are. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. Let's share it real quick, Salakia. Thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So I bring that out to say this, man. Why do we want to copy this oppressor, man? Why do we want to not follow this Bible? Why do we not want to come back to this, man? The answers to solving a lot of these issues is in this Bible, man. Is in loving your brother as yourself, man. If you simply learn what it is to love your brother, man, which is to keep those laws, statutes, and commandments, all those issues would go away, man. We'd be good. But because we want to copy and we envy this oppressor, man, we want to follow his ways, want to live the way they do and copy them. Think about it, man. You celebrate, New Year's and Christmas because you're really celebrating something that's not there, man. It's a fantasy. You watch what was those movies? It's a Wonderful Life, A Christmas Story, Home Alone, all these Christmas movies that show a happy, wonderful time with the family and friends. Don't you ever wonder why when you do that, it never works out that way? It's always chaos. It's always fighting. You try to have a New Year's party, and party hardcore like the so-called white man, and your parties never end with everybody having a good time. It always ends in a fight or someone getting overly drunk, something bad happening, someone getting arrested, getting a DUI. That's how it ends, man. Why? Because we're not supposed to be partaking in any of that, man. It's not our culture. It's not. The Lord meant for us to be separated and do our own. We have our own, we have our own high holy days and feast days, man. The Passover, you want to know where you can really have that, that good time that you're looking for, that celebration that you're looking for, where it's all good and all love and nothing bad happens. Come to the Passover, man. We have the biggest party, man, and everybody gets out. You see something that you never ever seen before in your life, man, which is true brotherhood and sisterhood. You see so-called blacks and so-called Hispanics and so-called Native Americans getting along and showing love to one another, man. Engaging in brotherhood and sisterhood, man. That's where we're be at, man. And here in the ISUPK, man, is where true brotherhood and sisterhood lies, man. We're gonna teach you true brotherhood and sisterhood, man. But that I brought out, man, like those articles, right? We're twice as likely to die at the hands of gun violence because we don't come back to serving the Most High, man. And engage, following brotherhood is a way to reverse that. That's how we're gonna survive this, man. As we got, a lot of people say this, we're all we got. That's true. We all we got, man. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Americans, we're all we got, man. And we got to come together, man. So for anybody out there watching, man, watching this class, man, I showed you the stats. I showed you the stories, the articles, right? The history of what gangbanging is, man. For all you brothers out there, right, you think you got to prove something to the barrio and be about, repping the set. You're not repping anything for your people, man. You're repping it for the so-called white man. You're doing it for Esau. You're not doing it for your homeboy or your big homie. You're doing it for the so-called white man. He set that up for you to do that so that you go kill another black or brown man and then you destroy yourself. And that you set yourself up, jam yourself up and go serve life in prison and, go build his empire up. Because what is it a coincidence that institutions are privatized and they have cheap labor in there? They set this up on purpose, man. They want you out there killing each other and hating one another, man. They want you to think that this Bible is theirs. They want you to think that this is the colonizer's book, man. This is not the colonizer's book, man. This is our story. The Bible is our story, man. Contrary to popular belief, man. The Bible's our story. It's the story of our ancestors. It's our code. It's how we decolonize. It's coming back to that book, man. Let me show you that this is talking about, decolonization before I close the class out. We're going to go to the book of 2 Thessalonians. Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Then we're going to close the class out. Make sure it's showing on the screen. I'm going to close the class out with this, man. The book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. That falling away first, man, is decolonization, man. Separating your spirit from the colonizer. And in doing so, you see who the colonizer is, man. That's the man of sin. The man of sin is that colonizer, is the so-called white man, is the oppressor, man. That's who the man of sin is. And when we separate from him and fall away, he shall be revealed. And no one can see, and then they won't be able to deceive us, man, by any means. And the day, and in that day, that's what will bring the steps of Christ coming to get us, man. But the only true way you're going to decolonize is going to be here in the ISUPK, man. Because let me tell you this, man. All these other people out there talking about decolonization, they're going to go celebrate New Year's. They celebrated Christmas. That's funny, man, because they talk about, the Bible is the colonizer's book. It's foreign to my ancestors. They didn't follow the Bible. At the same time, they're opening presents under the Christmas tree, man. I'm pretty sure your indigenous ancestors didn't have Christmas trees, man. They weren't opening presents and gift wrap and singing Christmas carols. And I'm pretty sure they didn't celebrate New Year's in the dead of winter to celebrate the god Janus, the Greek god, the Roman god Janus, right? But that's like I said, man, this is how you truly decolonize here in the ISUPK, man. And with that being said, man, I invite any brother or sister out there watching, man, to tune into our classes, man. Hollywood Israelites, from mi raza en México y aquí en Los Ángeles, ¿verdad? Aquí tenemos, ¿verdad? ISUPK México también, y también en nuestra página Hollywood Israelites vamos a tener clases en español, ¿verdad? I'm for my raza, for my brothers right there out there, man, you know what I'm saying? We got tune into our classes, man. Learn this truth. Come to class, man. You watch these classes, man. You watching them for a reason, right? The Lord, the scriptures say, Christ said, I chose, you did not chose me, I chose you. So if you watching this and you understanding what I'm talking about, and deep down, what you got to do to fight for your people, man, is coming here. Come do it, man. Fight that demon. Fight Satan that wants you to stay out there in the world and keep getting high and keep suffering, man. And your pain, man. Come serve the Most High, man. Come serve your people. Come serve your nation, man. That's how you serve the Lord. Decolonizing is serving the Lord, man. Who would have thought, right? But with that, man, we are the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Hanna. We've been doing this since 1969, man. And what we've been doing is waking our people up, man. Nobody's been harmed or erased from anything we've taught. So that's another lie used against us. But I close out the class with that, man. And with that, that's my time. Shalom, Israel.
Esta imagen que está viendo aquí no es Jesús, el que está en la Biblia. Esta imagen que estás viendo aquí no es la imagen de Jesús, el que está en la Biblia. Según Revelación 1 y 14 y 15, esta imagen que estás viendo aquí no es la imagen de Jesús, el que está en la Biblia. Según Revelación 1 y 14 y 15, este no es el rostro que miró Juan. Juan nos dice que en la Biblia, cuando él miró a Cristo en el cielo, él tenía su piel morena y su cabello de lana y sus pies y sus piernas como quemados en un horno. Esta imagen es la falsa imagen del Cristo, dado a la gente de Latinoamérica por su opresor. Esta es la imagen del diablo. Esta es la imagen que se ha dado para que nosotros nos hayamos perdido. Si tú tienes esta imagen en tu casa, deberías de hacer lo mismo que hago yo. Esta imagen que estás viendo aquí no es